Alright, looks like we finally figured this out. I'm sorry if it was a little confusing there. Um, but yeah, we're finally live. I'm excited about this. This is pretty cool. If I look a little, I probably looked a little confused there to begin with. Alright. I can't point out the kinks, but I think hopefully it's working now. Anyway, I am going to start with some Q&A, and I'm going in to see what type of questions I've got here. It looks like I've got a few. That's great. Um, and let's see. The first one um, is from Joe Butler. Let's see what you have to say, Joe. Um, no real question, just commenting, saying he's owning his own LLC as a business. I do not practice in South Carolina, Joe. I'm sorry. We're only in North Carolina. So anyway, so let's see what other questions we have. And I'm going to try and figure out how to go into the chat room here as well. I think there is a chat room. If you can see me, type hashtag yes and let me know. Um, I'm going to just type in here. And let's see, there we go. So I think there is a delay between when I am recording or when I'm talking and when you're actually seeing what I'm talking about. It's about 30 seconds, so awesome. So if you have questions, it looks like DSW Guitar says yes, Ben Bills says yes. That's great. This is exactly what I was hoping for. People would be able to jump on here and have questions. So it seems like technologically it's working. Um, the current resolution is not great. Hopefully, I don't know how to change it, I'll be honest. Maybe next time I'll do this on my phone and it'll be a little bit better. But anyway, we're here, we're live. Uh, put your questions in the chat box, and what I'm going to do in the meantime is while I'm waiting for the video to catch up to the questions in the chat box, I'm going to go ahead and start answering some questions that I already have. And let's see here. I got a ton of questions, and I don't know if I'm going to go through all of them today. I might, I may not, but if I do, cool. Let me see if I've got any other questions from email. It doesn't look like I do. Like I said, I sent that email at the last minute, and I haven't really been doing a great job collecting email subscribers. So a lot of people, I'm bad with my email list. I'm trying to be better. Um, but anyway, so I don't have any other questions. I'm going to go to the control room, and I'm going to be answering questions primarily through the control room and through the questions that come in chat. So Ben has a question. Do you have any advice? Hold on, I can't see your whole question. Oh, now mine's frozen up. Awesome. I think next time I might need to do this, if you can still hear me, I may need to do this for trading in an LLC. Do I have any advice for trading in an LLC? Ben, I'm guessing by your question what you're talking about is you've got an LLC formed and you're trading stocks in your LLC. Is that what you're talking about? I assume that's what you're talking about. I will tell you right now, I'm having a lot of technical difficulties on my end here. I don't know what the problem is. I think I may need to do this from a mobile device next time, because I can't see anything. So I'm just going to kind of run with it, and I think that Ben, you're talking about trading stocks. I assume that's what you're talking about. Um, but in the meantime, while I'm waiting for that, I am going to go through some of my questions I have here. Um, let's see. first question I have here is um, I'm starting a single member LLC. I've got no knowledge of the law. I have a question about which state I should be operating in, and I see that Delaware and Nevada are popular states to operate in. Alright, volume is low. Hopefully that's better. Let's see. Is this better? Let me know if this is better. Should I operate in a different state where I don't currently live in? I've answered this question a lot in my videos, and I will tell you that if you are starting out an LLC and you're thinking that you want to operate an LLC in Nevada or Wyoming or Delaware or someplace where you don't live because you've heard that it's better to do business there, or there's no income tax rate there, or something like that, that is bad advice. Do your LLC in your own state, because the business address, unless you've established some sort of business address in that other state and that's where you're getting all your mail, you are personally where you're located, that's where your residency is for tax purposes and everything else. So if you start a business in Nevada but you live in Georgia, you're going to have to file, you'll have to file all your paperwork in Nevada, and then you'll have to file as a foreign entity doing business in Georgia, because that's where you're actually doing business. So you, for most small businesses, and by small I mean 1-2 person businesses that are operating either an online business or some other business, you don't need to go to Delaware, you don't need to go to Nevada, you don't need to do any of that stuff. It's just as easy to start an LLC in your own state and run it from there. So that's going to be better. All right. So I've got some more questions coming through the chat. Hopefully volume's good. All right, DSW says volume's good. Louis Vega says yes. Um, Thank you. Good. I'm glad I got that set up. Um, LeBrent Marshall says better. Leslie Miller. Oh, Leslie, hi. I think you were asking me about when I'm doing my next live Q&A. Just so happens it was going to be today. Green Mean Production says, do you think that I should get clients first and paid before starting my LLC? That's a really interesting question. And I think what I think is it really depends on every individual person and the type of business you're going to be running. But generally speaking, if you're just starting out and you're not earning much money, what I would do is set up a separate bank account for your business and run everything through that. Maybe capitalize it with a little bit of your own money. But you want to do two things. Number one, you want to make sure that your idea actually is a good idea and one that is going to hold water for long term. Number two, you want to make sure that you're going to stick with it, because a lot of people, it's human nature. You start a business, you realize after a couple months it's not what you really like to do, and then maybe you quit it. And I'm not suggesting that's what you're going to do, but that is a problem that I see from time to time. And so what I would suggest is give yourself a couple months, make sure that you're actually earning money from the business and that you actually can get clients or get people buying what it is you're selling. And then after a couple months, once you realize that your business is actually legitimate, you can go ahead and form your LLC. Even if you start off and you don't have your LLC when you initially start out, and if you start a separate bank account, and you can, for a very low cost in most states, you can get what's called a DBA. So you go to the state Secretary of State's office, you get your DBA, you tell them what you want the name of the business to be. That way you can reserve it and make sure that nobody else is going to be using that name for you, and or is going to be using that name, or that nobody else already is using that name. And that's usually like 10, 20, 30 bucks, something like that. It's usually not expensive. Then you can use that to start the bank account, and then once you get things rocking and rolling, that's when you can actually go ahead and start the LLC, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. If you don't have enough money from the business to pay the cost to start the LLC, you probably shouldn't be starting the LLC. Hopefully that answers your question, Green Mean Productions. DSW Guitars, is there a good document template to use when designing the layout of your operating agreement? Yes, I actually provided one of these in my DIY legal course, although I've stopped kind of supporting that. I haven't been promoting that as a course. I'm actually in the process of preparing an ebook, and I'm going to include a template in that ebook. I may actually also, um, just for people that are on this webinar, I might set up a separate link below where I can email you an operating template if you'd like as well. I'd be happy to do that. Um, uh, so let's see. So that's kind of what that's what I'd say in terms of an operating agreement. So yes, I have them. Um, in fact, what I actually, probably to make it easier on you, if you're on my email list, I will go ahead and send an operating agreement template to everyone on the email list after we get off this call. All right, LeBrent, you said I passed your question. I apologize for that. Let me get back over here. When filing a start date on the LLC Articles of Organization, if you don't start on the date in the application, is it a fine? You're in California. I'm not a licensed in California, so I don't know what the rules are in California. Every state's different. An LLC is a function of state law, and so maybe that's, I don't know. I've never heard of a fine being levied for not starting on that date. I don't know how they would actually enforce that, because I don't know how they would know if you're actually in business on the date that you put. Uh, if I hope that makes sense. Let's see. If you don't start on the date on the application, is it a fine? Yeah. So I mean, you can't. Can you post date? Is that what I'm not quite, LeBren, I'm not quite sure what the question is, but you say thank you. So hopefully that answers your question. I've never heard of that. I would check with the Secretary of State's office in California to see. By the way, the Secretary of State's office in each state is the office that typically will handle all the filings for new business formation, if that makes sense. Do I study law in Florida? I'm a Florida licensed attorney, Ben, so I guess I do. Um, so yeah, I'm licensed in two states. I'm licensed in North Carolina and Florida. Those are the only two states where I can provide legal advice. And I can't provide legal advice on a recording like this because I don't know any of you. But I'm always open if you need an individual consultation and you've got issues in Florida or North Carolina. We can schedule a paid consultation call. I'm happy to answer individual legal advice or give you individual legal advice if that's what you need. Um, let's see. So questions have definitely been coming in. So while we wait and see if anybody has some other questions, hold on a sec. Um, so we've got a number of viewers here. That's great. Let me know if all right, we got another question from DL. Hi, I have a question for you. If you start a bank and or brokerage account in your company name, can the government send a letter to the bank and make them sell your shares or turn over your child support? So that's a good question. Um, I I'll be honest. I don't know. I don't know if you own a business and you have a business account. I think what you're asking, DL, is if you have a business account, can the government garnish that account um, uh, for uh, for child support? I know they can do it for your personal account. I don't know why they wouldn't necessarily be able to do it for your business account if they know that you're the owner of the business. But I'll be honest, I don't know the answer to that question. Um, uh, so hope that helps. Let's see, more questions. Um, so let's see. Spell check butcher. That's okay. I got it. I got it, DL. No worries there. Um, let's see. Great video. This is a comment on a past video by someone else. They said, as a web developer, I have a single owner LLC, and next year I'm looking at online sales of over $100,000 alone. Congratulations. One of your videos mentioned if you make between 35 to 50,000 that someone may consider an S corp election. Do you have any videos talking about this? I think I actually do have some videos talking about that. Um, I'm not going to flip around my screens right now um, because and Lewis, Luis or Luis, I'm not sure how you pronounce your name. I apologize if I didn't get that right. I will get to your question here in just a second. I have videos that talk about S corps. The general idea being, when you have an S corp, you have to take a salary. When you take a salary, you're going to pay 15% self-employment tax on that salary. If you have an LLC, you don't have to take a salary, but you pay 15% self-employment tax on the entire net income of the LLC. So basically, you save yourself, if you're an S corp, you save yourself 15% on the difference between your total net income and the amount you're taking as salary, if that makes sense. But there's additional costs associated with an S corp. So what we typically say is that if you're making more than $35,000, $50,000, $60,000 net profit from your business, it's sometimes better to do an S corp election and save yourself the 15% on the difference between what you pay yourself in a salary and what your total net income is. That's the idea. Now, there's other issues now because of the tax law that just passed and went into effect last year. There's an additional 20% deduction for net income for business taxes, or for business net income. That's a flow through that shows up right on page, I think, can't remember if it's page 1 or page 2 of the 1040, but there you go. All right, let's get back to some of these questions here. Luis says, as a non-resident setting up an LLC, selling to customers worldwide online, where do I file taxes? In my case, I set up the LLC in Delaware. Thanks. You're gonna have to pick a state, Lewis, and I don't know that it matters. Whatever the state is that you filed your LLC is probably where you're gonna need to file taxes. If you are, I'm gonna assume you're a U.S. citizen. If you're not a U.S. citizen, an LLC may not be the best choice for you, for a number of reasons. You can't use an S corp if you're not a U.S. citizen, because you're just not allowed. So I have an article about that I've posted before. I will try, and what I need to do is make some notes about things I need to follow up with you on if you're on this call. As a lawyer, that's what we typically do. Hold on a second. I'm gonna set up a document here real quick and make a notes of a couple things that I'll try and follow up with on after the call. So the first one was, I think we talked about membership, or excuse me, an operating agreement. My computer with this going on is like way slowed down. But you know what I've got? I've got a pen. So maybe I'll just do that. Okay. Go old school. All right. So membership agreement, and there was a link to another article that I wanted to. I'll go through the things. There was a link to a couple articles, but I've got an article that talks about if you are a non-U.S. citizen, non-resident, but you want to do business in the United States. Typically, it's best to form a C corporation for a variety of reasons. There's a whole article about that. I'll try and send a link to that. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Trying not to pass anyone's questions. Let's see. All right. I'm a single member. All right, we're on Gani's question. I'm a single member LLC. Would you recommend switching to an S corp? I heard it's not worth it if you make like $30,000 a year. Yeah, I think I just answered that question, Gani. So if you want to rewind about 5 minutes, you'll see my answer to that question. Audrey, what's the order in which you would set up a business in Florida after deciding the name and scope of work? Should we establish the website, set up the bank accounts, or the LLC first? Well, you can't set up the LLC bank accounts until you've got the LLC and the articles of organization. So you need to do that first. You probably want to come up with a name. What I typically recommend is going back to what I was talking about at the beginning, excuse me, is come up with a name. Make sure it's not taken by anyone else. You want to file your DBA. And then after you've done that, and you know that the business is viable, you're going to form your LLC using the same name. And then once you've done that, you take the articles of organization to the bank, you get your EIN number, and then you go ahead and with your EIN number, you can open up a bank account. That's the way you would do it. So you do the LLC first and then the bank account. That makes sense. DL. How can I find that answer to the question? I had a bank account with Chase and the government put a lien on my account. I had to give them half the money in the account. I think you're still on your child support question, DL. I don't know what state you're in, so I would talk to a family law attorney in whatever state you're in, is the way I would do that. Let's see. Ben, again, how would I go about finding an attorney in Florida that's good? I have one website, but I don't know. Well, I'm an attorney in Florida, so I don't know where you're located. Typically, a Google search helps with that. Let's see, LeBrent, if you have people that want to get an LLC number and want to work under my LLC, can I charge them and they become an employee? Not sure I understand your question, LeBrent. Unfortunately, uh, if you want to get an LLC number and want to work under my LLC, can I charge them and they become an employee? Yeah, I don't understand your question. I'm sorry. Is business insurance with an LLC? Mike 420 asks, is business insurance with an LLC? Do you mean, uh, do you need business insurance from your LLC? I think that really depends on the type of business you're in. For most companies, I would say yes, probably. If for no other reason than it's cheap. For my law firm, I've got $1 million policy. It costs me roughly $300 a year, $400 a year maybe, and it's just a liability policy in case my office burns down or I lose my computer or whatever. I mean, it's pretty inexpensive, and I think I also have my computer covered under my homeowner's policy as well. So DL, I want to make some investments, but I'm afraid to do so in my name. The government sent letters to my former employers and my banks. I'm afraid of taking the loss, so I don't trust the banks. DL, I'm sorry, you've got these questions about child support. We're not really talking about child support here. Um, this is for business type of questions, so I would really talk to a family law attorney. All right, LeBrent, go above the non-USA question, please. Uh, oh, you're in California. So, I still don't understand your question, LeBrent. I'm sorry. I see you're in California, but anyway, I'm sorry I don't understand the question. Michael asks, I have several online business ideas, but I don't know which idea will work. Do I have to set up a new LLC for each business I try, or start one LLC and change up the agreement with each new idea? Now, that's a great question. If you, Michael, you probably missed the very beginning of the recording, but at the very beginning we talked about, my basic guidance. The way I handle this is, I'd start by validating your idea before you start an LLC. So if you have several business ideas, you can create an LLC. Um, Basically, you can have a holding company that's the LLC, right? And you can set the general purpose of the LLC, the business purpose of the LLC, as any legitimate business purpose. So you can actually put all your ideas and do it in the same LLC. And then once you just kind of decide on one that you're going to actually go with, you can either change the name of the LLC, or you can change the DBA for the business, and the DBA could be owned by the LLC. There's a lot of flexibility there, so I don't know that you necessarily need to start a bunch of different LLCs. I would start one LLC for after you've decided which business you're going to be running, and then if you decide to start another business from there, then you can start a new LLC for that. Or you can do it as a holding company, and you can start to have other businesses underneath it. So I don't know if that answers your question, but in general, again, I don't know enough about your situation. I can't give you specific legal advice, but that's my general advice for anyone who's trying to start some businesses is you don't need to start the LLC right away. Wait until you've got a business that's a good business that's actually making money, and then you can kind of go from there. Gani, you are welcome. Jeffrey, why does North Carolina charge to file an annual report? And I just started an LLC in 2019. Do I have to file an annual report this year? Um, Do you mean why or what? Yes, they definitely charge because they need revenue. That's why they charge. Pretty much every state charges to file their annual report. Some states are more, some states are less. North Carolina kind of sucks because our annual reporting fee is like $300. So um, that stinks in that regard. If you just started it in 2019, I don't think you have to file an annual report this year, but check with the Secretary of State's office to make sure. If you just started it and you just formed, I think the annual report is not due until next year. Now, if you formed it in like January, it's possible, but I honestly don't know. Most of the time, if you filed it this year, I think you filed the annual report next year. I think they give you that at least. Audrey, thank you for the information. You are very welcome. I appreciate you getting on here. I just want to see something. Um, okay. Uh, DL Texas. All right. All right, Francisco. How does it um, how does it to create an LLC in the U.S. and living in Europe? Depends on if you're a U.S. citizen or not, Francisco. I don't typically recommend LLCs for people that are living abroad, but that's up to you. I'd have to know more about your situation. Like I said, I can't give individual legal advice. If people are driving and want to team up with me on my LLC, can they, LeBrand? Yes, yes, you can add them as members if you want to your um, uh, you can add them as members to your LLC if you want to give them an ownership stake. I don't know if I would necessarily recommend that. Again, I don't know enough about your personal situation. Based on comments here, I can't give legal advice. But if you have an LLC and you want to hire independent contractors, I typically am very wary to give up ownership stakes in my business. There's restrictions because I'm a law firm, and if you're a non-lawyer, you can't own a law firm. Um, but I would be very hesitant to give up any type of um, uh, ownership interest in my business. Let's see. I think I'm missing something from Prophetess Joan Messiah. I meant to type an LLC. I'm looking above. I don't see any other messages from you, unfortunately. Um, uh, let's see. So DL, your question is not about child support. Let's see. If you want to start a trucking company, if you set up an entity, can liens be attached? I mean, it's possible. I don't know. It depends on state law. Those are all state law issues. I can't give legal advice. I would talk to a business lawyer in your state, unfortunately. Michael Noonan, very helpful. Thank you. You're welcome, Michael. I'm glad to hear this is helpful for you. Mike 420, love your channel. Thanks for all the informative information. Great. I'm glad I can be helpful to you. Um, Ben Bills, can you have multiple business under one parent company? Yeah, you can. There's legal reasons why you should or shouldn't do that. So it just depends on your situation. Again, when you're starting to do things like that, my recommendation is to contact an attorney that can help you structure that correctly. Um, this channel is more about just kind of general business advice and guidance and helping people to identify what legal issues they may need to face when they're starting their business, because I can't give legal advice here. Um, Mike 420, is an S corp better when you have more than 5 employees? I think an S corp, it really depends on um, uh, revenue as opposed to the number of employees and how much money you're taking out of the business. Prophetess at 1:32. For some reason, I did not see. I don't see timestamp numbers here. So if you want to repost your question, Joan Messiah, I'd be happy to answer it if I can. Gani, I'm in Miami, Florida. I own a Films LLC. Me and my wife want to start another business. Should I create it? Let's say Gani Enterprise and S Corp, and then have two LLC companies. I mean, if they're two separate and distinct companies, yeah, I would start two separate businesses. Great source of info. Uh, uh, yes, you can contact me if I'm not in Florida. I'm licensed in Florida, but most of the work I do is virtual. So yes, you can contact me and schedule a consult if you'd like to. Um, there's a if you go to hawthornelaw.net/contact. Hold on, I'll post it in here. That's how you can schedule a consult with me. Um, what are my rates? My rates are I don't do a lot of individual client work because uh, this YouTube channel, like I said, I'm licensed in North Carolina and Florida, so I can work with people in North Carolina and Florida. And this YouTube channel gets people from all over. So a lot of the stuff I do is if you want to schedule an individual call and talk about what you need, we can find out whether or not it's a good fit and whether or not I can help you. Um, but I get so many people from all over. It really depends. So I don't know if that helps, but I don't typically quote rates um, online. Heim says, why don't you usually recommend an LLC for people living abroad? Because if you have an LLC and you live abroad, you have to file a 1040 in the United States, which means you have to declare all your income, not just the income from the LLC. So if you have other businesses, or you're earning wages from another company. The way an LLC is taxed, it's a flow-through entity, and to report that to the government, you have to file a Form 1040, which is a U.S. personal income tax return, where you have to declare your income from all sources. So if you're living abroad and you don't want the government to know about the money you're making abroad, now there's exceptions to the taxes, but at the same time, if you don't want them knowing about that, then that's why I don't recommend an LLC. LeBrent, I'm starting an LLC because I'm an Uber driver and want my own business, and others don't want to do the work. All right, good. Um, Congratulations. I think that's probably smart, especially if you're going to be owning uh, your own business. Maybe if you want to buy a car and put in the name of the LLC to use for the Uber business, all that. That's good stuff. Thank you for the info. Thank you for being on. Let's see. So while we're waiting, if more people have questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. But in the meantime, I want to kind of let you know kind of where the channel is going from here. Um, Basically, in the next couple weeks, I'm going to be doing a series of. I found that, and I'm glad that. So let's see, who was it that said that? The Uber driver, LeBrent. So that's a great example. So I just recorded a video earlier today that'll go live on Tuesday, and talking about the different types of businesses that people can operate online. We're in just such a unique, different world than we were, even 10 years ago in terms of the opportunities that people have to do business online. And um, so, but every business, if you're an Uber driver, you have a completely different set of issues than if you are, let's say, a YouTuber or a podcaster. And so what I want to do is kind of I want to create a different video for each kind of subset. So an Uber driver is a great subset of what legal issues specifically do you need to deal with as an Uber driver, and if you are a YouTuber, what issues do you have to deal with? And that's kind of the series that I'm working towards in the next couple weeks. If you think that's cool, let me know. Just drop a comment below. I'd appreciate it. Um, Let's see, I got some more questions here. DL, if I start my company and hire an independent contractor and they have student loan garnishment, Do I have to take that out of their settlement, or do they pay that out of their pocket themselves? My company. What'll happen? Okay, that's an interesting way to look at it. So, the way this works is if you owe money to somebody and they have a garnishment against you, so if it's a student loan or taxes or child support or anything like that, and you employ somebody, and there's a garnishment against them, what happens is the the authority that is entitled to the money will send you a notice, and by law you have to pay back the garnishment out of the wages you're paying to that person. Now you're not on the hook for everything, but if you pay them wages, or you know whatever you're going to pay them, and you don't withhold the money, then you could get in trouble and you could be held personally liable for that, if that makes sense. Now again, it's a state specific issue, so every state's going to be different. That's the way it works in North Carolina, I'm pretty sure. um, I'm planning TCP for that. I'm not sure what TCP means. Um, anyway, so that's what I'm working on. Just going back to where we were at before, that's what I'm working on with the channel in the coming weeks. The other thing that I will say I'm working on for the channel is a I'm trying to write an ebook that's going to help people understand where they need to go in terms of their business and how you start an online business and what you need to do legally from the beginning to the end. And so I'm working on that as well. Those are some things that are coming up uh, in the coming weeks, and hopefully very soon. So this is cool. I might do this again. What do you think? Thumbs up if you like this. Let me know. I appreciate it. Got a lot of questions. I got a lot of questions in here, and that was really really awesome. Um, if you are if you were on the show, if you were here today and you want me to email, like I said, if you're not already on my email list, go ahead and you can go to hawthornelaw.net/cheat sheet, I believe, and you can get on my email list if you're not already there. I'm going to send everyone that's on my email list, I'm going to send a sample operating agreement for an LLC, and I will try. And it sounds like people like this. That's good. I'll try and do more of these live Q&As on Friday moving forward. Um, I got one more question here. Hold on a second. Ben, with what you just said, with withholding the garnishment, could that price the veil? I'm guessing you got some. Uh, let's see, LeBrent. I'm not going to. I'm going to hide your email address so that others can't see it. But if you want to go ahead and go to hawthornelaw.net/cheat sheet. Yeah, that's right. I'll put it right in here. All right, I just so if you want to get on my email list, that's where you can do it. I think that's right. And meant pierce. Oh, could that pierce the veil? Pierce the veil. Yes, that makes sense. I don't know if that can pierce. I don't actually know the question that Ben. Um, but I, well, I mean, if you look at it, that's an interesting way to look at it. I think that I don't know if it's going to pierce the veil. In other words, hold you personally liable for the debt of the business, or if they're just going to come after the business and say the business is responsible for this debt. I don't know that. Um, if that makes sense. It's if you own an LLC, you are, the whole idea is most people, if they're one person, a single person LLC, it's them and their LLC, and you're trying to make this distinction between the business debts and your personal debts. So, um, anyway, all right. I think that's it for today. I'm gonna try and do this again next week. This was kind of fun, and if you have any questions, you can email me, and I'll add them to the queue for next week. But get on my email list if you got any questions. Let me know, and hopefully this is helpful to you. I'm gonna hop off right now. It's been almost an hour, and I apologize for the technical delays at the beginning, but uh, that's it. So next video comes out on Tuesday. Watch for it. We'll talk soon. Bye bye.